Well, hello Internet, and welcome to part 4, the final part of my SQLite3 tutorial series. And next we will cover working with Python and SQLite3. In this part of the tutorial, I'm going to cover views, triggers, and a ton of functions. Alright, so I'm still logged into SQLite, and what I want to do here is show you how to use a whole bunch of different functions. What I want to do is find the best and worst scores on all of my quizzes and tests. So I'm going to say that I'm going to use select, of course, and I want to get the test date as well, and I'm going to go and give that an alias as date, and I'm going to get the minimum test score, and I'll label that as worst. I'll get the maximum, might as well just copy this and paste it in there. And I'll mark that as the best from test score and our test table. And I'm going to put a condition that the test score test ID must be equal to test ID. That's how we combine those tables. And I'm going to say that I want to group by the test date. Pretty cool stuff. So now we're getting into really useful examples here, and let's go and do another one. Let's say I wanted to print the average score on each test. I could say select test date again, alias as date, get the average with the average function, test score dot score, so I don't have to list anything or do any math, just go average, and I'll mark this as average score, score from test score, as well as, well, I'm going to go and the test table. The condition that will bind these is the test score test ID has to be equal to my test ID, and then once again group by test date, and there you go. And I may have noticed you can just go and throw these in here as an alias as well, as long as you put quotes around them. All right, so those are our average scores for every single date and all the different tests. Let's do a couple more really useful ones. Let's say we wanted to list all the students that had a test score over 20. So maybe we would want to throw a party for those students. Let's go and combine their first names with their last names as name, and we'll get the test score and display that on the screen as score. And we'll do this from, we'll combine our test score and student tables, and then need to do some conditions here. So I'll say where the test score is greater than 20, and let's do another condition, and test score student ID is equal to our student ID, and I will group by name this time. All right, so there you go. Those are the good students who scored well on the test. And now that I've covered some more useful select statements, why don't we talk about views? Now basically a view is used to store a query's result. So we'll go create view, and we'll call this one score over 20 as, and then we'll say select F name and combine these student names just like we did before as name. And then we'll get our test score again from test score and student, of course, where test score is greater than 20 and test score student ID is equal to our student ID. And once again, like we did before, group by name. And there we go. And if we ever want to see that view, all we need to do is go select everything from our view. And you can see it's right there for us anytime that we would need it. If you'd like to delete a view, you could just go drop view score over 20, and it's gone. Another thing, now that we covered views, is you also have something useful called a trigger. Triggers are operations that are going to be automatically performed whenever a specific defined event occurs. So let's say we would like to hold some data whenever a student has a makeup test. I am going to create a new table called log, ID, int, primary key, test ID, int, not null, date, again not null, student ID, int, not null, and then define our foreign keys, foreign key, test ID, just referring to this guy right here, and it references the test score, test ID, and also we'll say foreign key, student ID, references student ID and test score. Whoops, references test score, student ID. Close that off. All right, so now the trigger is going to update the log anytime a test score is updated. And to create a trigger, let's just clear this. Create trigger. And I'm going to call this test score update. Then we'll say after update of score on the test score table. So anytime the score on the test score table is updated, what do we want to do? Define inside of begin. I want to insert into my log test ID, date, and student ID. And what I'm going to, then I'd go values, and you have to put new information, test ID, and I'll just say date being now, and you use new again, student ID, close that off, and then you end this with end. And we can go and look at our absences that we have, because that's going to tell us, it's absence, right? Yeah, there's the absences. And what we want to do here is update test score to test everything here. And we want to set the score to be equal to 20, where, and it was the first, I put the absent students in the first test, and I know that I put an absence for student ID that was equal to 2. There we go. And you can see right here, if I go and look at my log table, that it was updated, that today test 1 was made up by student number 2. Okay, so cool stuff. Now I'm going to cover a whole bunch of things that I haven't covered before. One thing is like. So like is going to be used to match different types of data. So what we want to do here is we're going to say that we want to match all last names that begin with J. So I'm going to say I want the last name and the first name for students from student table where the last name is like, and then you put inside of quotes J, and then you can put a %, and this is going to match for 0 or more characters that follow after it, like this, and it gives me every single student that has a last name that begins with the letter J. So neat stuff. Another thing we can do with like, let's go and use something similar to what we just did. So last name and first name from students, except this time we're going to say last name, and let's say that I want to get every 5 character long last name for some reason. You just go and put underscores, which are going to match 1 character or 1 space. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Run it, and there you get every student that has 5 characters in their last name. Cover a couple more different tricks. Let's say, well, let's go and clear this. Select, and let's go and use these guys again. Again, I'm going to say that I want to get it from the student table. And let's use that where clause we had, except get rid of this part right here. I'm going to say that I want to get last names. Oh, let's do first names just to be different. First name, like, begins with a J. And then I'm going to use order by, which is going to allow me to define how I want sorting to take place. So I'll say order by the last name, and I'm going to have it be ascending. I could also have it be descending. Either way, whatever you would like. Ascending, and then you could also have first name if we have last names that are the same. Limit is going to allow me to limit my results. So I'm going to say, let's say I only want 5 results. And then offset is going to allow me to skip the first number of results. So let's say I don't want to see the first result for some bizarre, well, let's leave it 2. All right. Had a little error there. Let's just go and get this from a student where the last name begins with J, or the first name begins with J. Order by, and get rid of these commas and run it, and there you can see our results. Just like before, there are a whole bunch of built-in functions inside of SQLite. So let's say we wanted to generate a random number. We could do it, and it's quite large. Let's say we would like to generate a random number that was in a range to absolute value, so it's not negative, to random modulus 100. This is going to give us a value between 0 and 100, and there you can see it did. Let's say we wanted to do display things in uppercase or lowercase. So we'll have our first name be up in lowercase, and in uppercase we will put our last name, and we'll do this from our student table. There you can see we did that. We can also get the length or number of characters in something. So we'll do something like Iron Man, and you can see there's the number of characters. We can go and get the number of rows in a table, for example. So we'll say select count everything from the student table, and there's 10 students. We can go and get the date, a couple ways of getting the date. We can also go and get the time. There's our time. We could also go and get date time, or both at the same time. We could do a lot of things. Let's go. We can also go and get our date. Let's just go and get this. And I covered this before, that you can get our current time with now. And then let's say that we wanted to get 30 days ago. We could go 30 days, and that was what it was 30 days ago. You could also put months inside of there. You could do crazy stuff. Let's do a couple more just because this is the end of the SQLite tutorial. Let's say you wanted to get the date of the next Sunday. All of this is exactly the same, except we're going to put weekday, and Sunday is considered to be the first day. You can see there's that. So the October the 13th will be the next Sunday. You could also subtract minutes. You could subtract seconds like I showed you before. You're also going to be able to format information. So to do that, you go string f time, and then define how you want formatting to be handled. So we can do month, day, and year to format differently, right like that. And for our final example, let's find out when Thanksgiving is this year as I am making this tutorial. You go date, you can say now, start of year, and I'm going to define the rules of Thanksgiving. That from the start of the year, I want to find, let's go down here, 10 months from the very beginning of the year, 21 days, and specifically Thursday. The weekday is 4. And if I did all that right, that's going to tell me when Thanksgiving is this year. Alright, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this SQLite tutorial. I wasn't originally planning on putting it in here, but I thought, what the heck, I'll throw that in there for free as a bonus. And in the next tutorial, I'll cover how you can work with Python and databases. So like always, please leave any questions or comments down below. And otherwise, till next time.